reasons that we wanted to come back to Kenya is because of a personal affection that I have for this country. There's a brand new book just been published by Rotary International called Rotary and the Promise of a Polio-Free World. It's written by Sarah Gilhard Cook, and it's brand new. And I got a copy of it in the mail just a couple of days before we left to come and see you. I want to read to you one paragraph on page 95 of this book, because it reminded me of an experience that I had. We've been fighting polio a long time, as you know. I was on the original campaign committee back in the mid-'80s. And Sherry and I come to you representing a Christian faith, the Mormon Church in the Western United States. And I say that to you because that explains a little bit what's in this paragraph. The book talks about all the different measures that had to be taken in order to raise funds from governments around the world to help us in our polio eradication campaign. And then the writer says this: one grant from a non-governmental institution resembled the government grants in its size and the restrictions on its use. Richard D. King, a member of the United States Polio Plus Campaign Committee, who would later become the president of Rotary International, made the contact that led to a $250,000 contribution from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The Mormons specified that the grant should be used for refrigerators and educational materials for Kenya, plus polio vaccine for both Kenya and the Côte d'Ivoire. Mormon missionaries were active in both countries. Among the educational expenditures the grant supported in Kenya was a colorful fabric printed with the Polio Plus logo and in English and Swahili the words, "Give children the gift of life." Kenyan women wore the fabric in long wrap-around skirts to spread the immunization message. I remember going to our church leaders in Salt Lake City and asking them for a contribution to the polio campaign. And they said, could we send the money to Kenya? And I said, absolutely. And so it was that the first $250,000 that church contributed came here to this country, because we had a marvelous affection. We've traveled all over the world to 135 countries, many of them many times over. And we've been to East Africa on several occasions. I was at this district's conference 20 years ago in Addis Ababa, and I remember so many experiences at that time. Traveling with me has been my wonderful spouse. It's wonderful when you have a good spouse in Rotary, and she has traveled with me through most of those 135 countries, packing and unpacking the suitcases, and listening to my speeches, and pretending, unlike that 10-year-old boy, that she actually likes my speech. The former First Lady of Rotary International, Sherry King. Sherry, I want you to take a bow. The reason I say that is because Sunday is her birthday, and we're always on the road somewhere celebrating her birthday instead of at home, where I know she would really like to be. I want to read to you from a paragraph by an amazing man, a doctor, a medical doctor, who worked here in Africa for many, many years. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. He was a distinguished physician. He was a Rotarian. And 50 some odd years ago, in the May 1960 issue of the Rotarian magazine, Albert Schweitzer wrote an article which he called The Truly Human Man. And this is what he said in his opening paragraph. Having occupied myself since my youth with the great problems of civilization and its survival amidst the events which form the great adventure that we share in this world, I knew that there would have to be created someday associations of people aside from political parties, aside from every other kind of distinction, something solely to meet the ideal of the truly human man, who tries to judge as a truly human man, and who tries to act as a truly human man. And I was called to this post by my conscience, and as far back as the First World War, I began to study the problems of the survival of civilization, which I already felt was threatened. And at that time I had this clear aim, that there must be formed associations of people with the ideal of humanity. And the first time I heard of Rotary, it was a great consolation, and I said to myself, now they are beginning to do what is necessary for the future. And I've lived through this great concern for the future of humanity with my friend Albert Einstein, whom I knew for many years. And I know how much he too was waiting for a great movement. And now this movement has come in Rotary, and we shall fight on while remaining profoundly human. The two salient points, I think, that Rotarian Schweitzer makes in this article. First, as I have traveled the globe many times over, I am convinced that more than ever before in all of human history, Rotary is necessary for the future. I had dinner on the banks of the Nile a few years ago with a retired general from the Second World War in the Egyptian Army. We were talking about the development of peace prospects in the Middle East. And he said, "You know, Rick, in so many parts of the world, fomented by the start of Rotary many years ago, when people have problems, they come together peacefully and they talk about solutions in a peaceful way to solve the problem. In my part of the world," he said, "we don't do that. Instead, we shoot each other." And then he went on to say, "And until we have more Rotary clubs in the Middle East, we will never have the peace that we so desperately seek. Because wherever Rotary is, there is more peace, there is better health, there is more love, there is more prosperity. This is the mission of Rotary International today." It all began with four men, two Protestants, one Catholic, and one Jew, who had spaghetti, Madame Galli's Italian restaurant, in Chicago, Illinois, on the 23rd of February, 1905. These four men wanted to form an organization because they wanted friends. It was all a self-serving idea at the very beginning. They wanted friendship. They wanted to help each other succeed in their professions or vocations. Nobody was talking about serving the rest of the world that night when they had spaghetti. They crossed after their dinner, they crossed the street, Suite 711 at 127 North Dearborn Street in Chicago, Illinois. And there these four men formed the world's first service club. Today, in some 35,000 communities, in well over 200 countries around the globe, Rotarians of every race, every color, every creed, every language, every politics, every culture, every language, every political idiosyncrasy and background, every background in the world, wear the Rotary wheel. Men and women of royalty and high station, foreign ministers, secretaries of state, heads of government, business leaders, athletic leaders, religious leaders, educational leaders, cultural leaders, social leaders, people from all walks of life, Protestants and Catholics meeting in the same Rotary club on the border of Ulster and Ireland, Hindus and Muslims meeting in the same Rotary club on the border of India and Pakistan. And throughout the Middle East today, Arabs and Jews meeting together in the same Rotary club, all of them wearing the Rotary wheel, because that is the mission of Rotary on a global scale. Today, Rotary's business is vast business. You all know the programs of Rotary well. We fight polio on a global scale. I don't need to reiterate all the statistics along the way. We fight malaria, measles, and dengue fever. We distribute packets of dehydrated food in the mouths of hungry, starving children. We fight illiteracy across the globe in the third world. We distribute wheelchairs. I don't know how many of you have ever been on a wheelchair with me, but I was on one not so long ago in the United States, where my aide, the director from New Jersey, Bob Clovis, and Jerry Lewis, the son of the famed American comedian, Chris Lewis, the son of the famed comedian Jerry Lewis, and we picked up a little girl who was about 6 years of age. This was a big wheelchair distribution sponsored by the Catholic Diocese of New Jersey, USA. And I was supposed to be the principal speaker. And a lot of people came, and the television cameras were whirring, and the photographers, and the government of New Jersey, the church hired people. And so we picked up this 10-year-old girl, born with spina bifida. She'd never been able to walk or run or play soccer or kick the ball in her young life. 6 years old. We put her in a new red room. There was an aisle down the center of the auditorium. Lots of people sitting over here, lots of people sitting over here. And this little girl began to realize that for the first time in her life, she could move herself in this wheelchair. And she could move it up and down the center aisle. And a smile on her face. I was supposed to give a speech, but in a second, everybody was looking at this little girl, and she was totally oblivious to the audience. having so much fun, moving herself for the very first time in her life. I put my speech back into my pocket because nobody needed the speech then. The speech was right there in front of us. This little girl walking up and down the aisle. When we were through, her father came to me. We had taken the little girl from her father's arms. Her father came to me with tears streaming down his cheeks, and he said, "Mr. King, thank you for the gift to my daughter. Every time I carried her by a school playground, I knew it broke my heart, because I knew that she wondered why she couldn't run and kick the ball the way her two young brothers did. And they were there that day, holding their mother's hand, watching their daughter, their sister, wheel the wheelchair up and down the aisle." And he said, "So you've given a gift today, not only to my little girl, but to me, to her mother, and to her brothers. Thank you, Rotary." You see, Dr. Schweitzer's comment, the second comment, was just as valid. Somehow in the process, we absorbed Ron Burton's theme this year. When we engage Rotary, our own humanity is enhanced. We become the more truly human man, the more truly human woman. And even though I have two new hips in me, a new knee, and I don't walk quite the way I used to, I've never needed a wheelchair for any length of time. My wife is a dancer. She's never needed a wheelchair. Our sons have never needed a wheelchair. Nobody in our immediate or extended family has ever used a wheelchair. So I don't really understand the gift we gave to that girl that day. But the look on her face when she learned she could move herself for the first time is a gift that I will take with me into eternity. I'm the one who received the gift that day as well. My own humanity was enhanced because I had engaged Rotary, and my own life once again was changed. And we dig water wells, and we restore sight to people with cataracts, and we build shelters, and we've planted billions of trees across the globe in our campaign to preserve planet Earth. We spend millions of dollars on Earth Act, Rotaract, Interact, Youth Act, Early Act, RILA, the world's largest youth exchange program, millions more on college scholarships, millions more on the Rotary Centers for Peace and Conflict Resolution. This is the work of Rotary today. This is the work in which you and I are engaged. And I'm so proud to be an African, because in this part of the world, you do Rotary on a global scale. You know what it's like to fight poverty and illiteracy. You're making magnificent efforts here, doing God's work on earth. We warmly congratulate you. The irony of it is that even though we do all of this for other people, we are always the ones who profit the most. We are the ones whose humanity is enhanced. Sometimes people stop and ask me, after having attended over 500 district conferences and Rotary events for nearly a half century, "Rick, why do you do it? Why do you take so much time?" It's because it always comes back in my own life. Because I'm a selfish man. I want the benefit that comes from being a Rotarian. So it is that I had a friend, a past district governor, in Orange County in Southern California. And he asked me to come down and speak to his club one day and motivate them to give a little more to the Rotary Foundation. So I flew from San Francisco, where Sherry and I live, and I flew for about an hour down to John Wayne Airport in Southern California in Orange County. But the minute I got into this man's automobile, I knew that something was wrong. He was not his enthusiastic self. He was not smiling. He was despondent, somber. He was a successful Rotarian, like most Rotarians are. He owned a floor covering business, and he had a big, beautiful black Mercedes automobile. And I got in the car, and I said, "Jerry, what's the matter with you this morning?" My wife and I had a marvelous experience today, Rick. We went to the hospital with our children, our daughter and her husband, and we brought home our very first grandchild. And I said, "Congratulations. That's a wonderful red letter day in anybody's life. Your first grandchild, your first child. What a marvelous day." He said, "Well, yes, it was, because she was born 10 days ago on a Sunday, and the doctors told us she probably would not survive. I don't understand the medical complications, but we couldn't even see her for a week. They were fighting to save her life." Last Sunday, 1 week after her birth, the doctor called us from the hospital and said, "You can come now. We've elevated her status to 50-50, we think, and you can come for a few moments if you'd like." The whole week was unhappy at my house, he said. My daughter, the child's mother, cried. Her young husband in his early 20s cried. He did not know how to console his young bride. My wife, he said, the child's grandmother, cried. It was an unhappy week at our house. But last Sunday, Rick, we went to see our grandchild in the hospital. You know, he said, when you go to a hospital to see a very sick child, and it's your own child, it's not much fun. They took us into a room, all clinically whitewashed, sterile the way they are. And one patient about this big, lying there on a bed, hooked up to a big machine with tubes and wires, keeping her alive. You know how they do. And my wife and I put our arms around each other, and we cried as we looked at our first grandchild struggling for life. And we prayed, and he said, I felt so helpless. I wanted to do something. I didn't know what to do. And then I got the shock of my life, because there in the corner of the machine was the rotary wheel. He said, I couldn't believe it. I rubbed my eyes, and there it was. And underneath there was a little plaque. And it said, this machine was donated by the Rotary Club of Orange. My club, he said, Rick, my club. I remember when the president of the club stood up and said the children's wing of the hospital needs a new machine. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to cost $1 million. But we are Rotarians. We are accustomed to accomplishing our goals. We are accustomed to success. And I think the club president said, we can do this. So he said, I thought I should set an example, because I've been in Rotary for 30 years, and I'm a past district governor. So I thought I should set an example, so I wrote a check as a contribution. Because you know, Rick, Rotary is always asking for a little of our money. And then he said I sold beer and hot dogs at the club fundraiser at the county fair to raise funds for this new machine. Because you know, Rick, Rotary is always asking for a little of our time, a little of our money, a little of our time. I forgot all about it, he said. I've been a Rotarian for 30 years. How many projects? How many checks? How many contributions? How many hot dogs? I forgot all about it. Until last Sunday. When that machine, he said as he began to cry, was keeping my first grandchild alive. And then he said to me, Rick, how did we ever get so lucky to belong to a club that's always asking us to give? Because you can't give it away. Always and inevitably, one way or another, sooner or later, it comes back. We are the ones who profit the most. We are the ones whose humanity is enhanced. And so their grandchild lived, because the Rotary Club got the job done. I commend you for the job you're doing here. It's an honor and a privilege for Sherry and me to represent Ron and Jetta Burton, great friends and a great president of Rotary Indiana. It's an honor and a privilege to be among old friends who we love and cherish. I have read Joseph's mysteries, and they keep me awake at night. I don't know what kind of a doctor is, but he's a good mystery writer, I'll tell you that. It's a joy and an honor to be with you. Thank you, Governor, for the invitation. We represent the President with pride in this district. God bless you. The second President of the United States, John Adams, concluded it this way when he said, in all the world, there are only two kinds of people who ever really count. Those people who make commitments and those people who keep them. And we who are privileged to wear the Rotary wheel are obligated to do both.
I now wish to formally welcome all of you Rotarians and your spouses and Rotaractors and Interactors who have come all this far to witness the first district conference of 9212. For purposes of continuity, we've called it the 89th District Conference and Assembly because our District 9200, which was split last year, has continued to have district conferences, as you probably see from this chain, which is getting heavier and heavier every day. I assure you, we have the names of the first governors in the year 1926 to the present one of 2013-2014. That's myself. Today marks, to me, a very important event. It marks the beginning of a very long journey of making Rotary relevant to the communities that we are serving today within this part of the world. And I want to assure you, Richard King, that when you get hold of the President of Rotary International, I'm sure you will, we have to traverse long distances. We are reaching out to the communities out in the rural areas because we want to expand Rotary and we want to make people know what Rotary is good about in the world. A lot of our communities don't actually appreciate what Rotary is all about. A lot of our communities have never known what Rotary is all about. They ask you, what is it you're wearing? Instead of asking you, which is this club that you belong to? So that is where we are getting into. That is why most of the emphasis that we've had in our district this particular year, and I believe my good friend Bimal and Shome will continue in expanding membership to the areas where there is greatest need, and that is in the rural areas. My friends, when we have the presence of one person like Dr. Rio, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Culture, Sports, and Arts, I think it's good to see what these people represent. These people represent an organization which has been tested for 109 years as Rotary. Rotary began its operations in Chicago in the United States of America, and today we are where we are because of the consistency and the efficiency of Rotary, which has made it possible for us to be here today by virtue of the fact that we are being consistent in our thinking. That service above self is what has been our guiding principle. And all those people I can tell you here without reservations from what you've heard from a past president of Rotary International, is that we touch lives. And those lives that we touch are the lives that make a difference in the future. These are the lives that we are going to change. These are the lives that we are aiming to change as a country when we talk about Vision 2030. And therefore, my friends, Rotary and government cannot afford to go separate ways. Our main 6 areas of focus actually are very compatible and very comparable to the Vision 2030 of this country. But this country, Kenya, is just one of the 4 countries that we represent in our district. So, when you see Rotarians from Ethiopia, Rotarians from South Sudan, and Rotarians from Kenya, we are, at the moment, we do not have any Rotarian here visiting us from Eritrea, but Eritrea is part of us. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, we are happy to be in your county today. And we are also very excited to know that you are here to be able to recognize these wonderful people and welcome them to your county. My friends, when I see wonderful people like my good friend Mheshimiwa Kembi Getura out there, the Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Dr. James Mwangi, the CEO of Equity, and my friend Mheshimiwa Ngengi Apo, and the owner of this place, I think we must really acknowledge what this man has done. Mwangi Kagame, tafadhali, simama. This is a man who has made it possible for us to be in a national park. And the other day when I was sharing with him why we wanted to come to a national park, even long before this conference center was built, he showed me the architectural plans and told me, Governor, I can assure you, this place will be ready 3 months before your conference. And he kept his word. Thank you very much indeed. Now, without further ado, I just want to say that today, as Governor, I feel very, very honored. I feel very privileged. And I feel very happy to see these wonderful faces from all corners of the district. This chain is getting lighter for me. It's not getting heavier because I know I've not worn it in vain. This chain, for those of you who know the security systems, if you put it in the bag, the security people scan it and think that you are carrying bullets. So one day I was asked, step aside please, in one of the airports. Are you one of those? I asked him, which one? You don't know that terrorists are here? Are you one of those? I said, no. Why do you say that? And he said to me, you're carrying bullets and you're a dangerous man, so we want to arrest you. I said, I've never ever in my life handled a gun. So why would I be carrying bullets? He said, but you might be carrying them for somebody else. And I said, I'm sorry, no. So they forced me to open the bag, which I did. And I said, oh, you're looking at my chain. Oh, can I wear it? So I put it on. And I said, oh, it looks beautiful. What is it? I told them it's the Rotary Governor's chain. It's nothing to do with bullets because we believe in peace. So I'll say this. I was actually headed to charter at the Rotary Club of Watamu. And there was a couple that I happened to have been watching me all along because I was delaying the flight. And so they asked me, you said something about Rotary? What is that? And I usually carry something in my pocket and say, what is Rotary? And I give them that card. They read it. And 3 weeks after that, I got an email to the effect that where they lived in Germany, because we were going on a holiday, there has been a meeting place not more than 200 meters from their house. And they have always seen very many cars come in, and after 1.5 hours, those cars drive out. And they have not wondered for 20 years what this is all about. So as we walked along there, they found something similar to the Rotary wheel that I give the card off. And I said, can we come in here? And then they were told, yes, you're welcome. This is the Rotary Club. The good news is, they were invited to become members of Rotary Club. What I'm saying here for is that the security people at the airport actually has added 2 new Rotarians to the Rotary world. Indirectly. I also meant to say that one of the reasons that I invited Richard King here is that during the training at San Diego, he gave us a lecture on the person that who touched you, who in Rotary made you what you are today. And I see one person that I have a lot of respect for, the person who actually introduced me to Rotary, Peter Kanyako. Peter, please stand. This is the person that introduced me to Rotary those many years ago, and I have a lot of respect for that, because if you did not invite me to Rotary, I'll not be your governor today. And so I'm very grateful, Peter, that you are able to come, and I'm also grateful that you are here with your wonderful wife. No? Thank you, Peter. Now, I really don't want to bore you a lot more with these long speeches, but I want to say something. That District 9212 has continued to grow. District 9212 needs you to grow. District 9212 needs the members to increase. And I remember during the elections in Kenya, somebody wrote and said there's tyranny in numbers. That was positive, but there's tyranny in numbers when you think about it negatively. The fewer you are, the more expensive, the more difficult it is to run a district. You have a job there. You have a duty to increase membership. Invite one person before the end of this year, and you see Rotary grow in numbers. At the last Rota meeting, our district was growing at a rate of 4.5%, which is the 3rd largest and fastest growing district in the whole of African continent. But that's not good enough. What is good enough is that we would like to grow to at least 20%. And that will make our district affordable. That will make our district manageable, so that when Bimal and the showmen take over the reins of running this district, they'll find it easy. So I want to recognize all of you here, Rotarians, the leaders of Rotary, who have helped me over the years. I want to particularly thank those leaders who have given me inevitably high advice, without which perhaps I would not have survived this time. Let me single out one, PDG. I think he's been by my side all the time.
I am pleased to join all of you in commemorating the Rotary International District 9212 Conference. I am humbled that the organizers chose Nakuru County as destination for the conference. The Rotary movement is to be commended for its effort in contributing towards greater peace and understanding throughout the world over the years. The service towards humanity by Rotary International is highly enhanced by the slogan promoting the ideal of service above self. I've heard a good deal about the social welfare it does without fuss or publicity to assist communities of all races in our country. I want to say that is why I have not actually understood. You do things silently. You don't tell people I have done it. That is why people have not understood why you are existing. And that is the best way to go. God wants us to do that way. This positive spirit has enabled Rotarians to partner with the government in supporting various social and development endeavors, especially in the areas of health, education, water, and sanitation. This conference, therefore, presents an opportunity of sharing ideas and projects, as well as showcase some of the amazing achievements by different clubs, and hopefully to recharge your Rotary batteries to carry your enthusiasm for doing good to the world throughout the year and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, the main agenda of devolution is to bring services closer to wananchi. Maybe I'm telling this message goes to those who are from outside Kenya, but ourselves, devolution is known to us, even though we have not understood it very well. That is why you still find people fighting here and there. But the general idea is bringing services closer to wananchi. The leaders today are faced with the need to raise the living standards of the masses of their people from mere substance level to a point where men and women can develop the full potential of their minds and bodies. The national and county government with the scarce resources cannot therefore fully meet the demands for better housing, improved health and sanitation, provision of quality education, and more so, improve the general living conditions of the people without the involvement of like-minded people such as you, the Rotarians. It is therefore critical for our government, both national and county, to enhance public-private partnership for development, leverage the scarce resources for effective and overall growth of our socio-economic activities. The various projects undertaken by Rotary Club within our county cannot be ignored. We highly appreciate the distribution of sanitary towels to our over 2,000 girls child, which have gone a long way in keeping girl child in school, as well as giving confidence to face the future. We also value the massive water harvesting program and distribution of water tanks being undertaken all over the county. This has provided hope to the many residents who would otherwise have slept hungry. Furthermore, we are also happy for the desk for school projects that you have also done in our county. To the Rotary Club, opportunities to partner and strengthen cooperations with the county government of Nakuru are diverse in the areas of health and sanitation, education and job training, promotion of peace and other humanitarian activities. we are saying, or I'm emphasizing peace, especially in Nakuru County. Nakuru County for many years has been known as a hotspot. Anytime we move towards election, you have heard people talking of Nakuru is a hotspot. You know, Molo is part of us, Kureso is part of us, and we are saying thank you very much for what you have done to us. You go beyond tribal. I can see even here you go beyond races. So Nakuru people, we value peace more than anything else. For 20 years, we have never had peace in any elections because of lack of peace. We have been fighting. And our president and the deputy president made a deliberate effort to make sure that we come together. We in the county, we followed that way. You see, Uhuru Kenyatta at the national level, we come to the county level, we have Kinudi Ambukwa and Joseph Ruto. This is to bring these people together, and now we are living as brothers. I can assure you, you can sleep, stay in Nakuru, we are very peaceful because of this deliberate effort to make us come together and foster this peace. So, when you talk of peace, the people of Nakuru actually clap their hands because they see development is here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I take this opportunity to thank you for your generous contribution towards humanity and to urge you to keep up the exemplary service you have continued to render to the people of our county Nakuru, our country Kenya, Africa and beyond. You have many years ahead to continue in your effort of building communities and preaching continence as you face the new horizons and also continue the good works of Rotary. I challenge you to grow your membership, give your friends, family, colleagues the same opportunity to do good in the world. I would like to kindly request you to take your time, tour our wonderful county and experience the beauty of our lakes. We have Lake Nakuru and we have the birds known as flamingos. So in case flamingos have come to your place or your county, please know those animals or those birds are ours. They belong to Nakuru and we are proud to have them. We also have a lot of wildlife. We have 3 mountains. We welcome you. You can climb the mountains and enjoy the scenery of our beautiful county. Feel welcome. Thank you and God bless you. Asante.
Let me say, when I was told to come here, I thought I was coming to meet strangers. Until I saw Yusuf Dawood, whose Sunday articles we really loved, and who talked about the Rotary in his articles as well. And until I saw some members of the Rotary from Mombasa, I think Bahari. I grew up in Mombasa, and I saw the good work you did in Mombasa. So I settled in very quickly. I felt at home. Listening to Rick and others made me feel really moved, and also made me feel that you needed a new member. That is me. So thank you very much, Rick and team. You're doing a great job for humanity. That has always been, as an anthropologist, I study missing links. And that has always been the missing link in making this world a better place. But what you're doing will always go a very long way in filling that gap. So thank you very much. For the official speech now, Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me begin by welcoming our guests. Karibuni, Kenya. We are delighted you could join us, and we would urge you after this conference to enjoy the various attractions that Kenya has to offer. Rotarians are, as you know, a worldwide brotherhood of business and professional leaders who concern themselves with humanitarian service while encouraging the highest ethical standards in their vocations. Their work for peace and reconciliation has often been remarked upon and deserves commendation. Rotarians in Kenya are worthy representatives of the larger organization. They have been in Kenya for over 80 years now, and their public and private service has distinguished them. Let me single out for special mention Bwana Hari Mugo, who has served Rotary District 9212 with exemplary dedication and diligence. The district encompasses Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and South Sudan, and it has a strong membership of over 1,500 top executives, business people, and professionals. It cannot have been easy to lead such a large district, especially in its early life. So I'm pleased to commend Hari Mugo. Ladies and gentlemen, although Rotary clubs have long been concentrated in major urban centers of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nakuru, the organization has recently begun to grow in many smaller towns, whether in Embu, Siaya, or Voi. I must encourage you to spread your wings. And personally, I'll be very happy to see Rotary Club of Marsabit one day, which will be your farthest point, I think. All 47 counties of Kenya would benefit from the leadership and public service that you have shown down the years, especially now that the counties are setting up their leadership structures in earnest. Ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with the history of Rotarian service, the theme of this year's activities is Engage Rotary and Change Lives. As usual, Rotarians have served with distinction. They have provided water and sanitation to many communities. Rotarians from Nakuru drilled boreholes and wells for various communities in the country, bringing safe, clean water where there had been none. Rotarians in Nairobi also gave equipment to hospitals. Rotarians in Naivasha have run medical camps. Others have given medicine, wheelchairs, and prosthetic limbs to amputees. At the coast, Rotarians have supported the government initiatives in maternal and child care and continue to run projects there. Rotarians have also not forgotten marginalized communities within society that are at risk of violence or persecution. They have done much to promote peace and conflict resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, it is these contributions, the hard, slow, and glamorous work of serving your neighbor, that builds a nation. I'm glad to recognize them, just as I am glad to recognize and appreciate perhaps the largest Rotary contribution. That is their support for the worldwide polio eradication campaign. Our country has yet to eradicate that disease, and we have had outbreaks. One of the latest of which was 10 cases in Dadaab, which is a large refugee camp in northern Kenya. Kenya activated the polio outbreak preparedness and response plan. The Ministry of Health and its partners, including Rotary, conducted several rounds of immunization in May, September, and December 2013, targeting up to 7.5 million children and adults. I am deeply grateful for that cooperation that Rotarians gave the government in this instance. They proved themselves really true patriots of this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, By its cosmopolitan nature, Rotary International provides opportunities for interaction and collaboration between Kenyans of different origins, and between Kenyans and the rest of the world. The opportunities for friendship between Kenyans and for international understanding between Kenyans and the rest of the world are no small contribution to the national and the global good. Today, we launch the food security program in conjunction with Amiran, Kenya, and Rotary District 9212. We will also launch the dictionary project, which will assist greatly in basic literacy and education for children and adults. We will also be handing some wheelchairs to recipients who need them greatly. These projects are in the best spirit of that cooperation and understanding that Rotary encourages. And it is my pleasure to preside over this launch. Ladies and gentlemen, let me close by saying that I anticipate even closer cooperation between this government and Rotarians, and especially in the devolved county governments. The skills and the will of every Kenyan must count if the country is to meet its enormous challenges. I must say that Rotarians and the organizations have offered an excellent platform from which to address and resolve some of these issues. Let me thank you once again for your excellent service, and it's my pleasure to declare this 89th Rotary District Conference and Assembly officially open.